What's up, everybody? And today we're checking out the most gangster Green Beret, Robert Howard. This is by the obvious legendary Fat Electrician, the best storyteller on YouTube. We've reacted to 2 or 3 of his videos in the past month or so I'm probably going to take a break from his stuff, although he has said to me on one of the videos, listen, just react to as many as you want. But I think this might be the last one for a little while, so sit back, enjoy it. If you haven't already subscribed to him, which I think is weird to say out loud that someone would be watching these videos and not subscribe to him already. There's a link down below. Is at 1.94 million subscribers. I want to see him get to 2 mil because I do believe he's one of the best YouTubers around, if not the best, in my opinion, because I love that storytelling format. So there's a link down below to his video. Please go over there, give him some love because he genuinely deserves the amount of effort he puts into these videos. And I'm excited. It's about a Green Beret. Listen, I used to be one. Anyone get that reference? Does anyone know that reference? Let me know if you know the reference in the comments. But yeah, it's about, obviously it's a US Green Beret and not a British Royal Marines Commando. But still, a Green Beret is a Green Beret, all right? We're going to support the brothers across the pond who also have a Green Beret. And we're not going to get into the whole who is better, all right? Because we already know. We already know. I'm excited to see the comments on that. Before we get started, though, the obvious. Check out Chug. 10% off link down below for the best drinking vessel in the world. These things are selling like crazy. I can't show you what's inside because this is my drink. Listen, this is going to be a long video. His video is 43 minutes long. Crack open a cold one. Pop it in your Chug. Sit back and relax. Listen, if you want one of these, 10% off link down below, free customization, free bag, handmade here in the UK by a small business. Always support your local small businesses, and they ship to America. So if you want to get yourself one of these, go ahead and do it. It's really, really worth it. Also, big news. Big news. Morale. For those of you who don't know, there's a lot of people who do. I'm going to give the spiel real quick. It is a drink where we're going to be using this drink, this means of the most social thing you can ever do in your life, sitting down, having a drink with someone, to get people outside more. That's the whole goal of this, is to get as many people outside as much as possible, raising money to get people outside. And the big news is the drinks come tomorrow. The drinks come tomorrow. They get delivered to this office tomorrow, which is insane. Obviously, I've been drinking this drink for a little while now. Obviously, I've seen what the cans look like, but I am yet to see a can filled where I can pop the top open and drink from the can. And so tomorrow is the day. For those of you who backed the Kickstarter, the timeline is not this weekend, but the weekend after. We're most likely going to go live for sale to the general public, which is insane. But we want to get the Kickstarters fulfilled before that happens. And so the plan right now is the 27th, I think it is. It's the Saturday. We've not confirmed the date yet, but I'm just giving you a little bit of a sneak peek on the information here. Is I'll be going live here on YouTube and Instagram and on TikTok, all on the Morale socials. And I will be fulfilling orders for the Kickstarter. So I will be packing your order live on camera. I'll give you a shout out if you want. And during that live stream, we will go live to the general public and I'll start getting their order squared away like the day after or whatever like that. Okay, so very, very exciting. Very exciting. If you want to be part of the movement, if you love the outdoors, follow the Instagram. Listen, if you don't, if being outside is not your cup of tea, if it's not really your thing, that's fine. You don't have to follow the Instagram. And I've said this for a long time, I want 1,000 people on there that are dedicated to being outside more than 10,000 people who are not that bothered, okay? I'm not here to just make a drinks company. I'm not here to do that. You see these drinks popping up every now and again. Their social media is full of advertisement for the drinks. We're not doing that. We're creating a movement. And it's already started with the Kickstarter being successful, raising 18 grand for the Kickstarter. But it's only just beginning. And this is incredibly exciting. If you want to be part of the movement, follow the Instagram this side and be a part of the movement. Okay, guys? Other than that, maybe I don't know. The Fat Electrician's already got, let me pull up. He's already got drinks here next to him. But I'd love to send him out a pack of Morale. I'd love to send him some. Hey, if you're watching this, mate, slip into me DMs and I'll send you a pack of Morale. Anyway, let's watch this. I'm excited. Sit back, relax, and let's listen to the best storyteller on YouTube.
Supply sergeant of all time.
Wait, let's
Normally,
start.
I don't like dealing in absolutes. However, I am extremely confident in saying that this is the most gangster supply sergeant of all time.
Supply
Today we're
sergeant.
talking about Robert Howard, the most decorated Green Beret in U.S. history. He started off his military career as a mechanic, then became a parachute rigger, then became a supply sergeant. After being shot in the face and surviving in Vietnam, he then volunteered to go out with Mac v. SOG whenever they needed an extra guy or a strap hanger, despite having no Green Beret or Special Forces training. Despite his initial
Jeesh.
lack of training, he rapidly went from the extra guy they brought along to help carry the radio to the man they specifically requested to come and help on their most dangerous missions. Having been shot in the face, blown up, and severely wounded multiple times on multiple occasions, he is quite literally the human embodiment of the Terminator and has been written up for the Medal of Honor on 3 separate occasions.
Holy,
and awarded it
3?
once because that's legally the amount of times he could earn it. In addition to that, he has been awarded 2 Distinguished Service Crosses, the Silver Star, the Defense Superior Service Medal, 4 Legions of Merit, 4 Bronze Stars with V device, and 8 Purple Hearts. And we're going to get into it right afterward.
Also, why can't you be given the Medal of Honor more than once? I feel like at this point, if someone is that influential in the military, why not give him twice? I mean, I don't know. It's kind of like the Victoria Cross over here. Like, it's what, 9 people in the Royal Marines that have had it? That's it? Or 8? Shit, I need to brush up on my Royal Marine history. This was like part of training. Was it 9 or 8? I might be wrong. But there's not many people who earn a Victoria Cross. It's like the big thing. And for the most part, you die in battle getting it. So I get it. I get it at that point.
From our sponsor. This video is brought to you by Element. Okay, we're not going to overcomplicate this.
Okay, I'm gonna fast forward a little bit because I'm not really allowed to show ads. People always ask me why can't you show ads. The truth is that people who, and I've been called out on this by companies, so I have to be careful. These YouTubers sign documents to be able to show their stuff on the web. And if certain companies don't like my content and then I show their video via something like this, I can get in trouble. So
without it. So yeah, if you want to give it a try, head over to DrinkElement/Fat Electrician. Doesn't matter if you're an old customer or a new customer, you're going to get a free sample pack with your order. Let's get back to the video.
boom. Like father, like son.
Our story begins on July 11th, 1939, when Robert Howard is born in Opelika, Alabama. When he's 4 years old, his dad is drafted to go off and fight in World War II in the Pacific, and when dad comes back, he suffers from what I can only describe as undiagnosed PTSD and has a crippling alcohol problem. From there, dad works at the local cab company for the rest of Robert's childhood, and he grows up dirt poor in Opelika, Alabama, with his dad, his mom, his grandmother, and his 6 younger siblings. The only early childhood memory that he ever talks about was when he was young, he finally got a new pair of shoes, which was a big deal for a poor kid in the 1940s, and 5 high school bullies were trying to take his shoes, and for the first week, they would chase him from the bus all the way to his house, but he would always outrun them and never get caught and got to keep his shoes.
That boy sure is a running fool.
After seeing this, his grandmother pulled him aside.
Imagine a world where you literally get bored because you got new shoes. Like, the world's changed so much. Plus, also, I'm a bit of a Tolkienist. I believe the world was better back then. I really do. Not during the war, obviously, but when things were simpler and we didn't have so much technology kind of consuming our life. And when I say a bit of a Tolkienist, he believed that advancement in technology doesn't necessarily mean advancement in humanity. And that the simpler ways are sometimes the best ways.
And said, Robert, you don't run away from your problems, you run towards them. The very next day, he comes back home from school, beat up, but he still had his shoes. From here, Robert continues to grow up, and he is pretty much a brick shithouse of a young man, being 6 foot tall, 170 pounds, extremely athletic, and good at sports. Despite that, he drops out of high school to help his family make money and goes to work with dad at the cab company. When he's 17 years old, he gets his GED and then wants to enlist in the military. Dad is furious, doesn't want his son to enlist, wants him to go off, get a normal job, lead a normal life. Robert basically just comes to him and is like, look, I'm 17, I need your signature to let me go join the military, but I'm gonna do it in a year anyways if you say no, so you might as well just let me do it now. Dad agrees, signs the paperwork. Robert ships off to basic training. Crushes basic.
I don't know how I feel about that as a military man. That I really, really, really do not want my children to ever join the military, ever. But my kids, specifically my boy, is very much like me. He is literally copy-paste. Juniper is very much like a mother, which is fine, so I don't know whether she would, but Silas is just Nerf guns and all that stuff. He's just like me. And so it does make me worry that when he gets to the age, I was so obsessed. I signed up for the Royal Marines when I was 15 and 9 months on the day, which is the day, like the age you have to be to sign up. 15 years old and 9 months. Exactly on the day I signed up. And I went in at 16, which you can't do in the US, but you can do over here in the UK. And I just know that once he's got his mind set on something, that's all he's going to want to do. And he's turning 7 in a couple of weeks, and God forbid in 9-ish years, 10 years, he turns around to me and says, I want to do it. Ugh. I know my stomach will just turn. Any parents out there that feel the same way? Anyone out there that feels the same way? It's hard being a parent.
His AIT, no problem whatsoever, ends up getting stationed at Fort Hood, and he is a mechanic because of his experience at the cab company. Now, that sounds all good and fine, but this isn't what Robert wanted. Robert grew up watching propaganda from World War II and the Korean War. He wanted to go off and become a paratrooper, and now he's stuck inside the motor pool doing maintenance on a bunch of military vehicles. This is just, it's not what he wanted. But he's trapped. There's nothing he can do. So he basically just lives it up. He's, you know, a lower enlisted private than a specialist. He's partying. He's drinking too much. He's going out with his friends. He's not really doing anything to advance his military career. After a couple of years of doing that, his re-enlistment's starting to come up, and his sergeant pulls him aside and is like, hey, look, if you want to stay in the Army, you got to get your shit together and actually start doing stuff to advance your career. Otherwise, they're going to kick you out. So that's exactly what he does. He gets real straight-laced, quits drinking so much, quits partying so much, goes out into town, finds a nice girl by the name of Tina. They wind up getting married. From here, he turns into an excellent soldier.
The classic military story, eh?
Then when that re-enlistment time finally comes, they want to keep him in. So he says, you know, I'll re-enlist for another 6 years, but I want it put in my contract that you're going to send me off to be a paratrooper. They agree. He gets sent off to Fort Bragg, attached to the 101st Airborne, goes through paratrooper school. Passes through that no problem, gets his jump wings, becomes a parachute rigger and a supply sergeant with the 101st Airborne. From here, his wife Tina ends up getting pregnant, and he is shortly after that sent over to France for 2 years straight, comes back home and meets his daughter for the first time when she's 18 months old. He is then home for about 45 minutes before getting sent off to Vietnam.
This is whole other country.
As they make their approach into theater,
That's rough, that, isn't it? Not seeing your kid until they're 18 months old and then having to disappear again. Ugh.
he is informed that they're going to be making an amphibious landing. He's pumped. He wants to go into combat. This has been his whole thing. In his brain, he's thinking D-Day, storming the beach at Normandy, enemy gunfire. This is going to be awesome, action hero type stuff. As they approach, he's informed, oh, it's actually a secured beach. This is just the fastest way to get everybody off the boat. So, not the excitement he was looking for, but whatever. They pull up in the Higgins boat. They drop the hatch door. He's told that they're on the beach. He steps off, full of all of his gear, 120 pounds worth of shit. He then sinks 12 feet to the ocean floor and almost drowns. From here, it's 6 weeks of just moving closer and closer towards combat, and it's just a giant nothing burger. Nothing ever happens. They're just driving the trucks closer, marching, getting to where the actual combat is. As they get closer, things start to escalate. Sometimes there's, you know, incoming mortars. Sometimes there's enemy sniper fire, but really it's just kind of boring. Nothing ever happens. Never sees any bad guys. Nothing. And then one day they get ambushed. Nobody was expecting it. It's a giant clusterfuck. His officer in charge is kind of like panicking, doesn't know what to do. He's froze up, not giving any orders. Howard runs up to him and is like, what are we doing? What's the plan? Guy doesn't have anything, so he's just like, point to a spot on the map you want me to defend, I'll go defend it. Gives Howard a location. Howard grabs some guys and sets off to defend that perimeter. Once he gets to his position, he starts setting up the perimeter, getting his guys set up with fields of fire, and while he's doing that, he winds up getting shot in the face with an AK-47, right in the cheek, passes through his mouth, knocks out a bunch of his teeth, and he wakes up in the hospital. And wouldn't you know it, the guy in the bed next to him is actually his buddy from airborne school that apparently has went on to become a Special Forces Green Beret. They wind up hanging out the entire time while they're both recovering in the hospital. Then one day, Green Beret guy is getting ready to leave. His colonel comes to pick him up, and he recommends to the colonel, like, hey, this is my buddy, Robert Howard. We could use a guy like him out in the field. And the colonel's like, is that so? You think you want to do this? And Robert Howard is like, yeah, anything to get me into the action. And he just kind of nods and walks off.
Huh.
Howard has to spend a little bit more time in the hospital recovering.
I feel like back in the day, stuff like that was so like more. I don't know how you would say it, like off the cuff, kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know what the word is. It's not really like structured. It's just like a bit more free ball. Do you know what I mean? And over here in the Marines, if you want to go SF, you have to put your name down for it, and then you get picked to go on selection. And there's like a bit of a process that people are well aware of now. But back then it was just more thrown about and just like, yeah, you want to do it? Okay, yeah. Well, you got to pass training. All right, let's sign you up then.
Once he's fully recovered, he basically forgot that conversation even happened, ships back off to his unit with the 101st, gets there, and his commanding officer was like, Howard, there's a chopper waiting for you. They got to take you somewhere. And he's like, what? Where? He's like, I have no idea. Apparently it's special forces and it's top secret. They're not telling me shit, just to tell you to get on the chopper. So he gets on the helicopter that flies him to Saigon to the Military Assistance Command of Vietnam, aka MACV. While he is there, he is offered the opportunity to assist the Studies and Observations Group, a top secret military unit that responds directly to the White House and the Joint Chiefs of Staff that the government will not admit even exists for decades afterwards. From here, he is told that this is strictly voluntary. He does not have to do this, but if he does want to, he'll be operating inside of foreign countries, Laos and Cambodia, two places America is not supposed to be.
Also heard we're in fucking Cambodia right now. Cambodia? Man, you kidding me.
Because of that, on these missions, he will be going behind enemy lines with nothing that identifies him as an American soldier, and if he is killed or captured, which there is a high likelihood of, the American government will sweep it under the rug and say they know nothing about it. Now, I can
SF stuff, right? Sneaky beaker. This is what they do.
only assume hearing this, Robert is like, okay, so let me get this straight. You want me, a supply sergeant, to go out with the Green Berets in a country we're not supposed to be in the most dangerous combat that you have, with a super high casualty rate, with no Green Beret training whatsoever. And the American government is like, yeah, that's exactly it. And, you know, if you survive for like 6 months, we'll send you back home to America, and then you can get your Green Beret, and we'll get you the training then after you've already done the job. To which Robert is like,
You son of a bitch, I'm in.
that's
To be fair, there's no better experience to get a green lid than to actually get on the job. That's the truth. You need to learn the basics, though. That's also true.
Robert shows up to a SOG forward operational base, and he is blown away because it is not like any other military operation he has ever seen. Robert is straight-laced, clean-shaven, right uniform, right place, right time, and everybody else on this operational base is just walking around in whatever clothes they want. They've got beards, they've got ponytails, don't look like the military professional that he's ever seen, yet these are the best operators America has to offer. Despite eventually going on to become one of these guys, he never really gives up his clean-shaven, straight-laced appearance, which, you know what, to be fair, fucking look at him. If I looked like that, I wouldn't give up my clean-shaven look either, okay?
Look at his scar on his cheek where he got fucking shot in the face. Wow.
And look at his jawline. Homie could get in a katana fight with that jawline and probably win. Sorry, anyways, from here, he spends the next 6 months being the supply sergeant on the forward operational base and operating as a strap hanger. Strap hanger is just the term for like, hey, we've got a group of SOG guys going out. They need an extra volunteer to help carry the radio and just do what they're told. Robert starts doing a ton of that. And to be honest, during this period of time, we don't have many specifics outside of that for multiple reasons. Everything's top secret. A lot of the MACV SOG documents were destroyed after Vietnam, and Robert never kept a personal journal. And
Can you imagine what it was actually like working with them guys out there? Like, that must have been insane. Some of the stories that have just died in time and history from secrecy and compartmentalization, and these stories that are just insane will never get heard. That's kind of sad. I get it. They probably can't tell some of these stories because of where they were, what they were doing, the consequences, etc. But man, I would love to have been like a fly on the wall with some of these things, you know?
in fact, the only reason we have stories on Robert Howard at all is because they had to document what he did to earn his medals. Everything outside of that he did is lost to time.
Yeah.
So we don't really know what happened over this 6-month span. However, we do know that he was in combat because during this period, he was awarded the Combat Infantry Badge. From here, he goes back home and he goes through the entire Green Beret training pipeline through 1966 through 1967. And by the end of 1967, he is awarded his Green Beret. From here, he gets sent back out to Vietnam, still operating as part of SOG. He is sent to SOG Forward Operational Base 2, which is right at a tri-border area between Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia, so they can go into both those countries fairly quickly and fairly easily whenever needed. He is still operating as a supply sergeant, and he is not attached to an actual SOG team, so he is still operating as a strap hanger whenever they need somebody. Initially, he struggles to get the opportunity to actually go out with a SOG team because, well, they're going out behind enemy lines on an extremely dangerous mission. Nobody wants to bring the fucking new guy for his first time, right? Well, somebody finally takes a chance on him. He proves himself. He starts strap hanging all the time. And from here, he goes from the fucking new guy to the guy that everybody specifically requests because he's ferocious on the battlefield, and he comes up with we'll say innovative solutions to problems. On one occasion,
Innovative
he was strap hanging
solutions.
for a SOG team, and they were going to go behind enemy lines for 19 days straight and plot out safe paths for downed pilots to take to get back into Vietnam and get
Listen, you've got to adapt and overcome. You've got to adapt and overcome and be flexible with your ideas. That's just the way it is. That's regular military and special forces.
and plot out safe paths for downed pilots to take to get back into Vietnam and get to safety. The problem was that by this point in time, the North Vietnamese had become aware of SOG's operations, and they were actually sending teams out to be counter reconnaissance. So whenever they saw helicopters coming into country, they would have scouts in the area, and they would just trail the SOG operatives so that they knew everything SOG knew. Obviously, for a mission where you're trying to chart a safe path for a downed pilot, you don't want the enemy knowing where these safe paths are, so they need to figure out a way how to get rid of this counter reconnaissance unit. So they called up the supply sergeant. He then proceeds to take an old footlocker, you know, that big trunk that sits at the foot of your bed when you're in the military that you put all your stuff in and lock it with a padlock. He takes one of those, paints it bright red, fills it with 80 pounds of TNT, ball bearings, nails, all kinds of shit, and then rigs it up to explode on a 5-minute timer. They fly in on the helicopters, get dropped off in this country, grab this red footlocker, throw it out the helicopter, and then run off into the wood line, leaving the footlocker. Now, to the enemy, if there is an enemy out there that's surveilling them, this looks like they were in such a hurry that they either forgot their supplies or they were in such a hurry they didn't want to be bogged down and have to carry them. So they go out, they run into the wood line, they're laying down, watching this chest. Sure enough, an entire squad of NVA counter reconnaissance comes up and they start investigating this footlocker, trying to pry it open.
God.
Footlocker obviously explodes. Counter recon guys are now gone. Robert Howard said that it blew debris a quarter mile away.
Holy shit.
On another occasion,
It blew debris quarter of a mile away. Well, if they put it down, the timer must have already been going when they put it down. How fast can you run in all your gear in the jungle? You're not doing 7-8 minute miles. Do you know what I mean? They probably were only about half a mile away, if that. Not even that, probably like a third of a mile away. So they would have been seeing that debris come down.
he was part of a hatchet force, which was a team that was actually supposed to go out and engage the enemy, and he thought it would be a good idea to run up next to a troop transport truck full of NVA soldiers. He then rigged up a claymore to explode and hucked it in the back before diving in the ditch and blowing up the entire truck. One of the SOG team leaders that he strap hung for consistently later described him as, and I quote, "I never saw him show any fear whatsoever. He'd do anything you wanted him to do." Dude was literally the Terminator.
I'm a cybernetic organism, living tissue over a metal endoskeleton.
My
All
God.
right, late October 1967, Howard volunteers to strap hang for a recon mission. Super straightforward mission. There's a river. Next to that river, there's a trail that the NVA is well known for using. Military intelligence figures there's got to be a communication line strung right along that trail so they can communicate. They want them to go in super sneaky, attach something onto this wire so they're going to be able to listen to all their communications and then get out. So they go out on this mission. Everything's going great. They make it to where this river is. They're looking for the communication wire and they come up on an enormous enemy cache of supplies, food. There's 1,000 rounds of recoilless rocket ammunition
Ooh.
and a ton of small arms ammo. They figure they got to do something about this, but they're a small recon element. They're not going to be able to take this out by themselves. So they radio back into headquarters. Headquarters agrees they need to get rid of it. So they send in an entire hatchet force, which is like 30 to 60 guys that are meant to actually engage the enemy. They go, they link up with the hatchet force. They bring them to the cache. And while they're making their way to this enemy cache, they get ambushed. A concealed enemy machine gun position unconceals itself, starts opening fire on Howard and all of his men. Howard dons his plot armor and rushes the machine gun nest by himself, gets to the mouth of it, and drops all 4 men inside of this nest. While that was happening, another enemy machine gun nest unconcealed itself, unbeknownst to Howard, and as soon as he clears the first one, he blacks out.
Ah, shit. So at this point, he probably got hit by something. It takes guts to be shot at and think your instant reaction, you don't even have to think about it, is run towards it. That takes a whole different type of person.
He got lit up by that second machine gun nest, and when he comes to, he's shot through his left shoulder, he's got a broken clavicle, and he's got blood all over his face. He was just shot in the face again. In hindsight, he thinks it was a ricochet because it didn't penetrate his actual skull. Regardless, he's not doing that great. So he lays there and waits for the medic to come help him out. No, I'm just kidding. He starts crawling towards the other enemy machine gun nest after being shot, and he starts making his way there, and then he starts taking fairly accurate fire from an enemy marksman off in the distance, grabs his CAR-15, returns fire, kills that guy, continues crawling to the enemy machine gun nest, gets right up to the mouth of it, and hits it with a grenade. From here, he runs back to his men, makes it to cover, and they start getting lit up by that first machine gun nest all over again. More bad guys have spawned from the jungle and manned this gun.
I wonder what the tactics are here, because there will be other soldiers trying to shoot at this machine gun fire. So he's getting quite up close. You've got to be very careful of blue on blue right there, haven't you? You've got to be super careful of blue on blue, which I love talking tactics, by the way. It actually makes me... Do you know what? I've been thinking, this is completely off tangent. I've been wanting to play some Total War. I've never played them before. I'd love to live stream with you guys and just play Total War and just talk military tactics. Just talk military tactics throughout history. All the way through to CQB training with that door kickers too. All the way back to medieval times with cavalry. I love tactics. I'd love to do that with you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments about that.
All over again. Made a mistake, left the machine gun operable, not about to make that mistake again. Looks to one of his men, says, give me that rocket launcher. Hands Bob the rocket launcher. Bob pops up out of the ditch, fires a rocket launcher directly at this nest, blows the entire thing up. From here, the hatchet force and everybody else moves in. They burn all the food. They blow up all the ammunition. They exfil. They get extracted by helicopter. Bob gets sent off to the hospital. Bob gets patched up at the hospital, gets out of the hospital, gets in a helicopter. They fly him to MacVSOG headquarters with one other guy that was there that apparently did exceptional things in the battle as well. And they go into a meeting with General Westmoreland, the 4-star general that is in command of all of SOG. Westmoreland then sits him down, tells him that was one of the biggest enemy caches they've ever found, and that this mission was an enormous success, and both of them performed incredibly, and basically does like the Godfather Mafia move of like, I owe you one. What do you guys want? First guy tells General Westmoreland he wants to get commissioned as an officer and go off to flight school because he wants to be a pilot. General Westmoreland's like, done. Turns to Howard. What do you want? Robert Howard looks him right in the eye and says, I just want to continue my combat duty.
I live for this shit.
I mean, what do you say? You got a free option to do whatever you want. What do you say? It's not much else. He's already SF. Not much else you can do, is there? You know what I mean?
From here, Bob gets back to SOB2, continues his duties as a supply sergeant, and the base commander informs him that he has written him up for the Medal of Honor. He would not wind up getting awarded it, though. It would get downgraded to a Distinguished Service Cross. Second week of December, they think they know where a battalion headquarters is for the NVA. They want to send in a big team and take them out. Basically, they're going to send in a team, get eyes on headquarters, call in an accurate airstrike, blow the entire thing up. That being said, they're expecting heavy contact. Going to be a super dangerous mission. Call in the supply sergeant. So they go in, they get inserted miles and miles from where they think this headquarters actually is because they want to be able to sneak up through the jungle. As soon as the helicopters touch down, they get ambushed. During this ambush, Bob ends up getting shot through the right shoulder and getting his forearm sliced up from shrapnel. Despite that, they fight off this ambush and Bob refuses to get extracted. According to him, it wasn't that bad and he didn't want to be the reason they ended the mission.
I am a machine.
From here,
how do you just crack on with that? You've been shot, and he's just like, yeah, no big deal. No big deal. Let's crack on. That's insane, isn't it? People are just nuts.
Mind you, after being shot and hit with shrapnel and getting attacked by an ambush, they then proceed to walk 2 days through the jungle to get to where they think this battalion headquarters is.
I mean, surely it's not as bad as it sounds then. Yeah, he got shot, but maybe it was just like a graze, or maybe it passed right through in a way where he's able to bandage it and he's not losing too much blood. You can't. Surely 2 days after it? We're all human at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean?
So Bob and the other 9 guys in this 10-man element make it to where they think it's at. The headquarters is there. They start observing. They're looking around. They're seeing what's going on. They're watching everybody, getting intel. And they come to the realization this isn't 1 battalion. It's 2. It is now 1,000 versus 10. But that's okay. It's not a big deal. They're not trying to engage the enemy in a 10 versus 1,000 battle. They're just there to call in the airstrike, which is exactly what they do. They call in the airstrike. A bunch of enemy soldiers take off running into the wood line, abandoning their HQ. They blow the HQ all to shit, at which point the airstrike is done and Bob's looking around like, They fucking missed some. So Bob goes in there, brings the other 9 guys
Oh
with
my
him, and
God.
they burn down all the rest of the buildings and tents and blow up the rest of the supplies. Then they hightail it out of there. As they're headed back to the extraction point, they run into a bunch of the soldiers that had abandoned their HQ, and they adopt a defensive position, get in a huge firefight. Over the course of this firefight, Howard and other estimates say somewhere between 30 and 40 NVA were killed. Helicopters show up to pick them up.
Between what, 10 of them? Christ, these guys are machines, aren't they? Wow.
Everybody starts boarding the plane, and wouldn't you know it, Bob, aka the only guy that's been fucking shot and blown up, is the last one to get on the helicopter. A few days later, on December 10th, Bob would be awarded the Bronze Star with V device for his actions during this mission.
That's insane.
From here, Bob gets patched up, goes back to being supply sergeant on S.
There's so many stories like this that just seem so surreal that someone actually survived it. And there's so many stories, countless. I mean, obviously, this is an exception. He obviously was awarded quite a lot for all the stuff he's done. But there are so many insane stories. It makes you realize how much we've probably not heard and missed.
So B2 continues going out on strap hanger missions. Like I said earlier, we don't really know the details of every single mission because all the documents were destroyed, and we only know the accounts of the missions where he earned a major medal. The next of which would come on May 14th, 1968. He goes out on a mission. They wind up getting ambushed. During the battle, Bob gets shot in the left shoulder, the right leg, and he gets blown up and has shrapnel all over him. Despite that, none of it pierces the plot armor. He continues to fight through the ambush. After the ambush is over, he gets medevaced and sent back to the field hospital. His wounds are too serious for the field hospital, so they have to send him to Japan to a specialized hospital against his will. He recovers in Japan until he's stable enough for the flight back home to America. He is then sent to Fort Bragg. While in Fort Bragg recovering, his wife comes up from Texas with his daughters, and they're living in temporary housing, and one day he gets notified that he has to come to some award ceremony. Some fancy general's giving out a bunch of awards to a bunch of people that have earned him, so he tells his wife, like, hey, we got to go to this award ceremony, and she's like, oh, are you getting an award? And he's like, yeah, I'm getting an award or two or whatever. So they show up to this award ceremony. The general's calling people up, giving out awards, and like, if you've never been to a military award ceremony, if you get an award, they read the entire citation for why you're awarded the award. They give it to you, shake hands, salute, yada yada. Robert Howard's turn rolls around. He goes up there in front of the general, and the general then has to award and read the citation for 3 Purple Hearts, 3 Army Accommodation Medals, a Bronze Star with V device, and a Distinguished Service Cross, all back to back to back.
Oh, is that it?
It's like a
Sheesh.
45-minute affair of a general just reading to a crowd of people the stories of Bob basically being the main character. And the entire time, presumably his wife and daughters are sitting in the crowd like, I had no idea I was married to fucking Rambo.
I remember when, so I was BCR, Battle Casualty Replacement for 40 Commando, and I ended up not getting sent out and went back up to 4-5 to do pre-deployment training, and the lads that did get sent out rejoined up to 4-5 Commando, and they were getting medals. And I remember we did this thing on the beach where they were getting awards and stuff. But other than that, I haven't really done. In the UK, unlike America, in the UK, it's very rare that you actually get a medal. Like, unless you are out in combat, you don't get a medal. Like, I feel like you get quite a lot of medals for all sorts of different things in America. Not like these medals. These ones are obviously very, very unique. And so I never really went to a ceremony thing like that, apart from that one instance.
He is back at SOB2, and he is no longer a strap hanger and supply sergeant. He is a full-fledged SOG infantry guy, and he's going to be leading teams. By November 10th, a SOG team goes out on a mission. They end up getting pinned down and are not able to get extracted. The best estimates is this is not conventional NVA forces. This is some type of special unit that has been brought in to go toe-to-toe with SOG, and they need to go in there with a bunch of more guys and finish the job. This mission would go on to become known as Slam 7, when a massive SOG force, 115 men, all go in to help recover this team. So the choppers come in and they're taking fire in the landing zone immediately. Howard jumps out of the helicopter when it's still 15 feet above the ground and starts returning fire, killing 2 enemies immediately. They continue fighting through this ambush. They make their way to this SOG recon team, and it's a scene out of a horror movie. All of the members of this recon team have been executed. Every one of these guys was severely wounded in battle, and then they were executed by being shot in the head by the NVA. While other men are still engaging the enemy, Howard and some of the other leaders on the ground are examining the bodies bodies. They're going to recover the bodies, and Howard notices that one of the men's eyes is tracking him, even though he's been shot in the head, in addition to having 19 other gunshot wounds. They call the helicopters back in. They start coming in. They're loading up the bodies and all the wounded men. The helicopters are taking off, and one of the helicopters ends up getting shot down by massive anti-aircraft guns. Their best guess is that it's an anti-aircraft setup on the back of a half track. So then they go, they rescue those guys, get them out of there, and then they call in for orders like, hey, there's heavy anti-aircraft guns. What do you want us to do? Thinking they're still going to get extracted. The whole point of coming out here was to recover the men or the bodies of the men. That's what they've done. Time to leave. Chain of command says you need to take out the anti-aircraft guns. You don't know where it came from, go find them and take them out.
Son of a bitch.
Okay, this just turned into an overnight operation.
Again, that's something where it's about adapting and overcoming and changing of plans. Like, you've got to be so used to it in the military, the fact that plans change all the time. In fact, talking about when I went and was BCR, I was with 4-5 Commando, and we went down to Torquay, I think it was, or somewhere down south, and went surfing for a couple of weeks. It was a bit of relaxation before they started pre-deployment training. And we went down, we were relaxing, and literally we were like, all right, let's pack our stuff up. We're going to go back up to 4-5 Commando, get on the coaches. Literally, before I went on the coach, the boss came round with a paperwork saying, all right, blah, 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 all these people, and Marine Gillings, you're now BCI, you're going to 40 Commando instead. Like that. Instant change.
Bed down for the night. They get ambushed in the middle of the night with grenades and mortars.
And by the way, I'm not saying that's anywhere near what they've just been told. I'm just saying that in the military, you've got to be so used to orders being changed instantly.
Just turned into an overnight operation. They bed down for the night. They get ambushed in the middle of the night with grenades and mortars, one of which peppers Howard's entire backside with shrapnel. Howard then calls in air support, orders his men to only return fire with 40mm grenade launchers because that's not going to give off a muzzle flash, giving the enemy their position. Airstrike comes in, the NVA leaves, they're cool for the rest of the night. The next day, this massive element of about 100 men now is still moving, looking for these anti-aircraft guns, and the entire time they're just thinking like, this is too big of an element, we're too far behind enemy lines, this is a horrible idea. Day after that, they're completely out of supplies. They need food, they need water, they need more ammunition. None of these guys were planning on this being a multi-day operation. So they call in a supply drop, they get the supplies, they got food, they got water, they got ammo. The only problem is they're behind enemy lines, and now the enemy has a general idea where they're at because they saw the supply drop. They get surrounded by the NVA, they have to hunker down, a massive firefight ensues, and they have to call for extraction or they're all gonna die. Helicopters start showing up, they're getting the wounded on board first, they're starting to get some guys out of there, and then like the third helicopter gets shot down, and now they have to go rescue those guys too. So Howard leads a team, and they go rescue the crew from the downed chopper, get them back while they're still loading choppers and getting people out of here. Remember, they got 100 guys, and you can only fit so many on a helicopter.
This just goes to show people back then were a different breed. They really were. They were just a different breed. Unlike today, like, obviously we've got lads who do some incredible stuff in the military today, obviously. But I think in general, people back then were just different, weren't they? So different.
Trying to coordinate the choppers landing in between waves of NVA attack. That way the choppers aren't getting shot down while they're in this massive firefight. And as time passes, it starts to get dark out, and they're going to have to be out there overnight. Howard and the remaining men on the ground are basically stuck there fighting all night long. However, they get a ton of air support. They've got A-10 Sky Raiders dropping napalm. They even get a C-47 Spooky gunship, which is a predecessor to the AC-130. Literally a cargo plane that a bunch of grunts just cut the sides out of, and mounted artillery and miniguns that just circles around them, mowing down anything that tries to get near them all night long. During this night, Howard gets hit with another grenade and has more shrapnel inside of him, which he's pretty much more shrapnel than Guy at this point.
I was gonna say.
I am Iron Man.
Finally, morning comes around. It's foggy as shit out. The battle's died down. It's really looking like they're going to make it out of this alive. And through the fog, there's two silhouettes coming towards them with their hands in the air, and it's two NVA soldiers. Howard and the commanding officer both yell, "Don't shoot," because if they're surrendering, we want to take them in for intel, because very few NVA soldiers have been captured to gain intel. Unfortunately, with this massive SOG element, there was a large contingency of indigenous people that were fighting alongside SOG, and those guys did not listen and shot both of them immediately. At this point, Howard's pissed. The commanding
I was gonna say, I bet they were super pissed after that happening.
officer's pissed off, and they're just like, fuck. They're waiting on the choppers to come, and after a couple of minutes, another silhouette comes walking forward with his hands up. It's another NVA trying to surrender. And before anybody can react, Howard jumps up and sprints at the guy and literally picks him off the ground, throws him down, makes sure he doesn't have anything on him, and then carries him back into their position. From here,
Holy
they
shit.
get distracted, they make it out. Howard actually has to go to a bigger hospital because the little aid station on their fob isn't
Bear in mind, he's already full of shrapnel at this point still, and he's still doing this insane stuff.
big enough to handle his injuries, so he gets sent off to the hospital. While he's there, he finds out that that is only one of 3 NVA that have been captured by SOG in years. And the intel that they gained from him led to 9 successful bombings of NVA bases.
Wow.
For this, he was again written up for the Medal of Honor, but it was downgraded to a Silver Star and a Purple Heart. While at this hospital on a larger base, Bob
I mean, how many times are you going to put an application in? Do you know what I mean? He's got it. Obviously, he got one in the end. But it makes me wonder what this last one is that he gets put in for, that it must have been so substantial that he actually got it.
Howard decided to do Bob Howard stuff, and he didn't like the food in the hospital. So in his hospital pajamas, he leaves the hospital and just goes to a normal chow hall. While he's at this chow hall, 2 Vietnamese on a moped pull up and throw a grenade into the crowd of soldiers. Everybody freaks out. Everybody's diving. Nobody knows what to do. The MP that's standing there with a gun, because he's the only guy with a gun right now, is just like locked up, not knowing what to do. Howard, in his hospital pajamas, grabs the M16 from the MP, gets down in a prone position, shoots the passenger off the moped, causing the driver to crash, and then chases down the moped, confronts the driver, they get into an altercation, and he shoots that guy too. He then walks back to the chow hall, hands the rifle back to the MP, and finishes his lunch. So Howard
Does this guy have a book about him or something? Let me see if, let me do a bit of Googling real quick. Because this guy is absolutely insane. You know how much I love reading me books on history. Robert Howard Green Beret book. Let's see if there's a book. There is. There is. Beyond the Call of Duty. Ooh. Beyond the Call of Duty. It's just loading. The Life of Colonel Robert Howard, America's most decorated Green Beret. Part of American War Heroes, 15 books. Whoa, there's like 15 different books of different people. That's pretty sick. This might be a good shout. This might be a good shout. Let me show you the front cover. If anyone's interested, there she blows.
Gets back to SOB2, starts going out on missions again. His next big mission is to go out and recover a SOG operative that is MIA from a previous mission. So they go in with helicopters, and as soon as the helicopters come out, they start getting lit up by enemy gunfire. It's an ambush. They are using this guy as bait. Howard ends up making it out of the helicopter. He estimates that there was probably 2 platoons launching this ambush, and in the first opening seconds, 8 NVA soldiers got killed. In the opening minutes of this battle, Howard gets hit with an enemy grenade up close. It launches him 10 feet down a hill, and he is now unconscious. When he finally comes to, he wakes up and he sees red. Not like he sees red, he's angry and he just drank a Monster Energy drink and his name's Kyle and he sees a bunch of drywall red. No, like that's the only thing he sees is the color red, and for a minute he freaks out thinking he's been blinded. He still hears gunshots and explosions going off all around him. All hell's breaking loose. He has no idea how long he's been unconscious. He starts wiping his eyes and they're just caked with blood. He's bleeding all over the place and his vision starts finally coming back. He reaches for his gun. It's been blown up by the grenade. It's completely worthless. He goes to stand up. He can't. He shattered one of his ankles. So he is now behind enemy lines in the middle of a gunfight, blown up, can't walk, and has no gun. And then he hears screaming and smells burning flesh. All the rest of the men that aren't injured have made their way into the wood line off of the landing zone, and there is now an NVA soldier that is going to all of the wounded men, mostly indigenous guys, and Robert Howard, and he is walking up to them with a flamethrower and burning them alive. At this point, Howard knows he's fucked. He's about to get burned alive, so he starts digging around for anything he has on him that's going to be helpful. He ends up finding a frag grenade. His hands are so messed up, he can't really use his fingers yet with a lot of dexterity. So he's fighting, trying to get his fingers in, and he manages to pull the pin on this grenade, and he's holding the spoon down, and he figures, you know, I'll blow myself up rather than get cooked. But he waits. He's in some tall grass. Maybe this guy isn't going to see him and he's not going to have to blow himself up. So that's what he does. He just waits there, holding this grenade spoon down so it doesn't blow up. He's got the pin in the other hand. In case he gets lucky, he can shove that back in and it's all good. And he waits and he waits, and eventually the flamethrower walks up right in front of him. And he is right there. And him and the flamethrower lock eyes, and the flamethrower sees that Howard's holding a grenade, and that dude's got a flamethrower attached to his fucking back. If Howard lets it go, Howard's taking this guy with him, and he knows it. And Howard, with his dark veteran sense of humor, all he can think to himself is, fucking gotcha. And this flamethrower and Howard are just looking at each other right in the eyes. Howard's got this big shit-eating grin on his face like, I'm gonna take you with me. And eventually the flamethrower just kind of nods and starts to step backwards. And as soon as that happens, the SOG guys in the tree line see the flamethrower and start shooting at him, and he takes off running into the tree line. Howard throws the grenade after him, has no idea if he hit the guy or not, turns around and starts crawling towards his men. And the crazy part, in his head, he wasn't thinking, I need to get to my guys to get help for me. In his head, he was thinking, I gotta get to my guys, they need my help. Which is the most
that bit alone of this whole story, I couldn't even imagine. Well, I can imagine it, but it's not something that would ever be in your mind of literally being face to face with a guy with a flamethrower and holding a grenade with a pin out, just being like, if you want to fucking go, we're going to go right now. Like, think about that moment for a second. It's like a while ago, we watched a video where a Ukrainian soldier and a Russian soldier literally doing hand-to-hand combat until one of them wins. And just being face to face with an enemy where it's like, one of us is going to die or both of us are going to die. It's as simple as that. It's a situation you don't wish on anyone. That's insane, isn't it?
character energy shit ever. On his way there, he comes across his lieutenant who's alive, but in worse shape than he is, really shot up, and he gets his web gear off, throws that next to him, and starts rendering first aid, and then an enemy bullet hits the LT's web gear and detonates the ammunition inside of it, launching Howard and the LT all over again. He loses consciousness.
Wow.
He comes to, crawls back over to the lieutenant, and starts dragging him towards the men. Finally gets to his group of guys. It's not everybody. There's only 8 guys there, plus Howard and the LT. Everybody else is scattered out throughout the battlefield. Howard takes the LT's radio, starts calling in airstrikes, tells one of the men to hand him a gun. They toss him a 1911, not wanting to give up their own rifle.
De-atomizer, that's what I'm talking about. Noisy crickets.
As he's calling in these airstrikes, a squad
Back when Will Smith was actually cool.
of MVA charge their position with bayonets, wanting to take him alive. Howard ends up shooting 3. His men take out the rest. Howard's still on the radio. They're sending in gunships. As the gunships are approaching, one of the indigenous fighters that's with him ends up taking a bullet to a smoke grenade on his web gear, freaks out, throws that off of him, and over the radio, Howard hears, "Where are you in relation to that purple smoke?"
Oh,
and Howard's looking at this in front of him, is just like that. That's us. As the gunships arrive, the battle kind of dies down a little bit. Howard takes the moment to set up an actual perimeter, directing his men's fields of fire, and he's sending runners out to other small groups of SOG guys that got separated, and he gets everybody on the ground consolidated. He now has about 30 men. From here, Howard asks the medic how his lieutenant's doing. The medic says he's doing everything he can, but he doesn't think he's gonna make it, to which Howard replies, and I quote, "Make him make it." Howard then brings in all the able-bodied men that he has them consolidate ammunition, and then pretty much just tells them how it is. We're not moving anymore. We're gonna stay right here. You're gonna fight or you're gonna die, and if you try to run, I will shoot you myself.
Everyone fights, no one quits. If you don't do your job, I'll shoot you.
He then directs his men where to place claymores and asks his men if anybody has strobe lights, collects all the strobe lights that they have, and crawls around their perimeter and places the strobe lights in place before crawling back to the center to man the radio. Once back at the radio, he tells...
Think about all this he's done. All this. This is still the same fight where his ankle's shattered. He's just been face to face with an enemy. He got blown up a second time. This is all happening in the same time. I feel like these stories, like, he's obviously the Fat Electrician is one of the best storyteller on YouTube. No matter how good of a storyteller you are, it doesn't give it justice on how fucking insane that is for someone to be in that state and then still carry on for the good of the men. Wow.
Headquarters that his perimeter is marked, and they need to shoot pretty much everywhere that isn't inside of this triangle. They tell him the Huey gunships are 15 minutes out. He doesn't have 15 minutes. The NVA just launched another major attack. The only thing they have right now is a Cessna 01 Bird Dog circling overhead, mostly there to help coordinate airstrikes, but it does have 4 white phosphorus rockets on board. It's not a lot, but it's better than nothing. Robert tells him exactly where to fire these rockets. They fly by, fire the 4 white phosphorus rockets, and repel this wave of the attack. The O-1 Bird Dog pilot then radios down to Robert, "That's all we've got," to which Robert replies, "You got an M16 up there?" And they're like, "Yeah." He goes, "Fly by and drop it off. I need one." So now at least he's got a gun and he's got to survive another 10 minutes before the Huey gunships get there.
That's
NVA launches
hilarious.
another attack. This time they're trying to come through a creek bed. Robert directs his men to use 40mm grenades and just start lobbing them into this creek bed and repels that wave of the attack. The next wave comes. This time they're coming towards the same place that Robert had all of his men place all the claymores. They let him get up close, detonate the claymores, repel that wave. Finally, the Huey gunships show up, but it's getting dark out. They can't see much, so Howard has to direct their fire from the radio on the ground. And
This is still the same fight. How is he not like bled out?
this goes on for hours. When the Hueys run out of fuel and ammunition, they get cycled out with a Moonbeam gunship. And when that runs out of fuel and ammunition, they bring in F-3 Phantoms. They're just cycling out whatever aircraft they have to get Howard the fire support that he needs. And the entire time, he is on the ground directing their fire. He is
What
quite
the
literally like an
fuck?
orchestra conductor guiding a symphony of destruction all around him. And this goes on for 4 hours before Howard gets word that Hueys are on their way to come extract him. The first Huey shows up. They get it loaded up with wounded, dead, and indigenous fighters. Howard, even though he's injured, refuses to leave the combat zone. First Huey takes off. Second Huey lands. More men get loaded on that Huey. Again, Howard refuses to leave. He is the highest ranking man on the ground, and he is going to be the last one out. After the second Huey leaves, it is now just Howard, 2 other SOG guys, and 2 indigenous fighters. As the third and final Huey pulls up, they get the 2 indigenous on board. 1 SOG guy hops in the helicopter as Howard and the remaining SOG guy get into an argument right at the helicopter. Howard has just seen the dead body of his lieutenant off in the distance. He was originally loaded on the first helicopter, and because he had passed, some of the indigenous fighters decided they were going to throw his corpse out of the helicopter to lighten the load so the helicopter could get out of there faster.
No. That would not fly with a lot of people. Never mind, Robert Howard. That wouldn't fly with a lot of people.
Robert Howard is not about to leave his lieutenant out there. The other SOG guy in the helicopter hops out, and the 3 of them go out, retrieve his body, drag it back to the helicopter, get him loaded up. The other 2 SOG guys get loaded in the helicopter and then pull Howard into the helicopter as he is the last man out.
Wow.
From here, Howard is immediately shipped off to a hospital in Saigon to be treated for his injuries. The chain of command then debriefs all of the remaining men that they have, and pretty much everybody has the same story. They all would have died if it weren't for the leadership of Robert Howard. The men on the ground were credited with 25 to 50 kills, and the airstrikes directed by Robert Howard were credited with at least 50, most likely more. For this, Robert Howard is awarded a 2nd Distinguished Service Cross and written up for the Medal of Honor for a 3rd time. After the debriefs, a couple of days go by. Nobody's really expecting to see Robert Howard anytime soon. If ever again, he might be going home for good after the extent of his injuries. And sure enough, like 4 days later, he shows up in hospital pajamas to SOB2. He was apparently satisfied with how much he had recovered in 3 days and thought the medics on SOB2 could handle the remainder of his recovery. So he went AWOL from the hospital, hitched a ride back to SOB2, and he's planning on going back out on missions already. I know I've already said this, but the dude
Some people are just built different, aren't they? They're psychopaths at this point.
is literally the Terminator. He can't be stopped. The chain of command is like, look, Bob, look, you're hurt. You're recommended for the Medal of Honor. You're not going out on missions. You're going to be the training NCO and whoop everybody else into shape because you obviously know exactly what you're doing. So he spends the rest of his deployment being the training NCO for all the SOG operatives going out on missions. And apparently he was a complete hard ass. He had all of his guys out on the highway in Khartoum running to be in shape. And they're like, the base has been attacked before. We're going to get attacked while we're out here jogging. This isn't a good idea. Bob didn't really care, didn't listen. And then one time they take some indirect sniper fire. Nobody got hurt. And surely at this point, Bob's going to reconsider. There's not going to be any more jogging along the highway. Nah, Bob just orders that they all start jogging with loaded guns. Bob finishes up the remainder of his deployment. Then he is basically voluntold that he's going to go off to become an officer. So he goes back home to the States and has to go through the officer's training course.
Oh
with
my God.
literally new guys fresh out of college.
You're out! Doyle rules!
Which is hilarious.
That's insane. Imagine being a new recruit and having him next to you. Yeah, they should not have done that at all.
Could you imagine being some 23-year-old kid
Yeah.
that's got a 4-year degree from college and now you're in officer training school to be an infantry officer and you're in the same class as Bob fucking Howard, the Terminator, who's got 2 Distinguished Service Crosses and like 5 Purple Hearts at this point? Even worse, could you imagine being this guy's instructor tasked
Yeah,
with teaching him how to
seriously.
be an infantry officer? Obviously, he passes officer candidate school with flying colors. From here, they ship him off to Ranger School, which is one of the hardest programs in any military branch ever. He basically walks through it backwards and graduates as the Distinguished Honor Graduate, meaning he was literally the best guy in the entire class, which is super impressive regardless, but it's absolutely insane that Bob Howard was able to be the best guy in the entire cycle of Ranger School, despite having been blown up, shot multiple times, all the shit he's been through, and he's like 30 years old, and he's just smoking all these new recruits. After that, he goes to some other leadership school, then they send him off to Jungle Warfare School. Of all the schools he apparently needs to go to, they send him to Jungle Warfare School. After that, they send his ass back to Vietnam to
I swear the military is so convoluted sometimes, isn't it? Like, it's so ridiculous that you just have to tick boxes sometimes. Like, that guy he didn't need to do all this shit.
Khartoum to SOB2. And the crazy part, he's pumped. He wants to get back and start going out on missions. He gets there. He's told that he's still waiting for the Medal of Honor. They're not going to be sending him out on missions. He's going to resume his role as training all of the new guys. From here, he does a great job. He knows when a guy's ready to lead the team. He knows when a guy isn't. He's training these guys, toughening them up, getting them ready. Sometimes he takes it a little bit too far. There was one time he loaded shotgun shells with rock salt and was shooting it at people. It was Vietnam. It was a different time.
The bald heads.
So he didn't get to go out on missions, but he still did get to see some action because multiple times while he was there, SOB2 was attacked and he got to help defend it. On one of these occasions, he would actually be shot in the heel during the opening portion of the battle. Bob, being Bob, doesn't really give a shit, just bounces right off his plot armor. He starts directing men and leading the defense of the compound. And as he's doing his thing, some specialist comes running up to him and is like, "Bob, you got a phone call." And he's like, "Motherfucker, I'm kind of busy right now. We're defending the compound." And he's like, "But it's General Westmoreland." And he's like, "What does he want? I mean, does he know that we're under attack right now? What's the deal?" He goes, "No, but he wants to talk to you. You need to go talk to him right now." So he's like, fuck, okay. So he like limps across the base, gets over to the phone. Bob answers the phone. He's like, "Hello." And General Westmoreland's like, "Bob, how are you?" And he's like, I'm good. My foot kind of hurts. I'm a little bit busy. What's up?" And he's like, "I just wanted to call and congratulate you. You're being awarded the Medal of Honor." And he's like, "Oh, all right." And General Westmoreland's like, "Yeah, I've got a chopper on the way to pick you up right now." From here, he pretty much gets
Wow.
extracted on the spot, gets swept off to Washington, D.C., and gets awarded the Medal of Honor by President Nixon. From here, Robert Howard never returns to Vietnam. He had spent in total 40 months in combat. Instead, he's given instructor roles pretty much for the
All this time, he's still got a kid at home that he's not even seen. Well, he saw once, or maybe he saw a couple times when he was between training and stuff. But that kid surely is like 4 or 5 year old now, right?
remainder of his career. He trains airborne soldiers, he trains infantry, he's an instructor at Ranger School, all kinds of stuff. And while he almost certainly does miss going out and doing Robert Howard stuff, he also appreciates the opportunity to make up for lost time with his daughters.
There
As
you go.
tough
Good,
and as
good,
crazy
good.
and as violent as he could be, he treated those girls like little angels. And on one occasion, one of the teachers at the military school that they were attending decided that he was going to take his belt off and whip one of his daughters for being loud and disrespectful in class. Upon hearing this, Robert Howard then instructed his daughter to get in the car. They drove to the officer's house on base. He walked up to the front door, rang the doorbell, made his daughter apologize to the officer for being disruptive in class, and then sent his daughter back to the car and then proceeded to beat the shit out of him on his own porch. He then was stationed
Can you imagine being a teacher and that happening?
down in Fort Lewis, where he was an officer with the 2nd Ranger Battalion, where he was known for training extremely hard with his guys and leading from the front. During a field training exercise, they were going to jump out of a plane, simulating an airborne mission, and then they were going to pack their shit up, and road march 26 miles. Upon jumping out of the plane, Robert Howard's chute doesn't open properly and he hits the ground at twice the speed he's supposed to. The
Oh,
medics
shit.
overseeing the LZ run up, assuming that this guy is dead, only to find Robert Howard packing up his chute. He looks over at the medics and says, if this shit gets any harder, I'm gonna quit. He then proceeds to finish the 26-mile road march.
How you doing?
I'm back, motherfucker!
Okay, Robert Howard might be
I fucking love David Goggins. That guy is a legend.
the biggest badass I've ever covered, which is saying an awful lot. I've never seen plot armor this thick. It's absolutely insane. He continues to serve in the military in multiple roles until finally retiring in 1992 after 36 years in service.
Look at them medals. Jesus Christ.
At the rank of colonel. He would then pass away at the age of 70 in 2009, and that is a story of Robert Howard, the most gangster supply sergeant of all time, the most decorated Green Beret of all time, and quite literally the human embodiment of the Terminator. Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch.
Wow.
Over to thefatelectrician.com.
Wow.
Quack bang out.
Sheesh. What do you even
And
say
then
to
there was
that?
a story of when his son-in-law asked permission to marry one of his daughters, and he said, and I quote, "As I extended my hand to shake his, it was the largest hand I had ever seen in my entire life. He then proceeded to tell me, I know why you're here and you have my permission, but know this, if you ever hurt my daughter, no one is ever going to find your body."
Oh my days. Absolutely incredible by the Fat Electrician telling a story and doing the justice it deserves to get this story out and have it recorded on the internet for the foreseeable future, or at least let's pretend that the internet's going to be around forever, and hope that this story is out there for people to see for the rest of eternity, because it deserves to be known, this story. Robert Howard, the most decorated Green Beret of all time. I will leave a link down below to the OG video. Make sure you go check that out. Check out Chug, 10% off, link down below. And also check out Morale's Instagram if you love the outdoors. Other than that, there won't be a video up tomorrow because I'll be too busy sorting out all these drinks, which is insane. So you'll probably see me on Thursday. I'm hoping to get some live streams done in the next few days where maybe we can play some Battlefield and relax and have a good old chin wag. Other than that, I love you all. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.